Hello everyone, it's Angie here at Beads and Plenty More. Today I'm playing around doing some crescent moon earrings, and I'm playing around with a new tool that we just got in. This is a micro wire looping plier. It will do loops between 1mm and 4mm, and gauge wire between 22 gauge to anything finer than that. I was quite impressed with it as a tool, but I'll show you how it works. If you don't happen to have that, a pair of round nose pliers will help you do this project as well. And then your basic tools, your wire cutters and some needle nose pliers. But I'm working with a resin crescent moon here, and I've got 3mm beads, 4mm beads. I've got 24 gauge wire, and then I've got an ear hook and a few jump rings to attach the ear hook on with. So to get started, we're going to do the wire wrapping around the outside edge here. And I've got a short piece to show you with, but what you're going to need is about 1/2 meter of wire to do the outside edge, but I'm going to start with a shorter piece here. And what I'm starting with is I'm going to start with the smallest of the loops on my pliers here, which is a 1mm. And I'm just going to create a little wire spiral. So I'm switching over to my flat nose pliers or my needle nose pliers just to create the actual spiral here, because they put less marks on the wire. So once I've got a little spiral, you'll see it on the top of my sample one here. We're just going to look for the loop on the top of the thing, and we're going to set the spiral down, and I'm just going to hold it on, and I'm going to do a couple wraps. So I'm pulling the wire a little bit as I wrap to get it nice and tight. And I'm not sure my spiral's sitting in a real good spot, but oh well. And then I'll just put a bead on. And I will wrap. Once kind of holds it in place, twice will secure it. So I usually do 2 wraps. So you're going to do that most of the way around. I have 6 beads on the outside here, and then I started putting some loops on to be able to put some dangles on. So I've got one that's a little further along, so I can show you how to finish that. So I've got my 6 beads on already, and we're just going to put the last of our loops in. So again, I'm still using that real tiny little one. This would be a great plier if you're making rosaries, because sorry, I'm getting out of camera here. Simply because it's a plier that makes really tiny little loops. So I'm going to do a wrapped loop. So I've made my loop, and then I'm putting a couple little wraps in there to hold it secure. So this is a loop that won't open at all. And then we'll just wrap it a couple times through the and I'm going to put a little spiral on the end. And I know I've got too much wire here now, so I'll just take my cutters, and I want to leave a couple centimeters remaining. The rest of that is extra. And again, we will make the little loop first, all the way around. And then we'll just coil it in. And once I've got it where I want it, I can just set it down onto my work. Looks like I should coil it just a little more here. There we go. So now, if I want, I can take the jump rings and attach my hook on. So I'll just use my needle nose pliers to do that. This is a 5mm jump ring, and that's because this resin piece has a fairly wide girth to it or whatever. And what I found is that the small guys won't, they curve too much, so they won't actually go through this. So grab a second set of pliers, close that up. And then I need one more to get it to hang the right way. Of course, when you're working with crescent moons, you want to make sure that you've got one going each direction on your earrings so that you've got the two different earrings. All right, so there's that. And then all I have left to do is to add my beads off the bottom here. So these little ones at the very bottom, I was putting a little spiral on them. So again, we can do the same spiral we were doing, except now we're making our own little head pin basically. So I usually wrap it twice, and then I can just straighten the end out to kind of add the bead in. And I've got lots of wire here, so. All right, so then we'll just do a little wrapped loop. I wouldn't do a single loop without doing a wrap on it because this is fairly fine wire. This is 24 gauge wire. So again, I'm still using that real tiny guy. I am quite impressed with this plier. And we'll just wrap the tail end. And I think I have my loop going the other direction, so we'll just manipulate it around. Yeah, so it's going the one way and my spiral's going the other way, so I'm just going to manipulate it so it's sitting the right way. And then I'll just keep going and do my in-between ones here.